The winter of 2021 was an exceptionally brutal one for residents of Moore. An extended stretch of unprecedented cold weather along with ice and snow made life miserable in February. And while Moore dodged severe weather in the spring, the area also saw significant amounts of rainfall. City Manager Brooks Mitchell says that when you combine these two factors with the normal amount of wear and tear our residential streets get, it makes for an unusually difficult situation.
And because of the weather that we've had the hot summers and we've had a lot of rain, and then the brutally cold winter that we had, a lot of the streets that really weren't scheduled to be replaced for another 3 or 4 years, well, now all of a sudden they've jumped to the top of the list just because of the impact that the weather's had on them.
Now, that's why city leaders are asking voters to approve an $8.6 million general obligation bond for road improvement projects.
We've got 7 residential streets that need to be reconstructed in the 3 wards, and then also we have 3 design projects, one for South Broadway, one for Telephone Road, and then another one for the Eastern and Broadway intersection. And so, these are important because our residential streets, they're the ones that are on the proposition are well traveled, and it's time to reconstruct them, and it's just better streets for our citizens.
Assistant City Manager Jerry IHLER explains why that $8.6 million would make a critical difference.
Plus the age of existing conditions of those streets. The problem is they're half a mile long, and in order to go ahead and replace them under the existing half-cent sales tax, it might take us 3 years to be able to accomplish this.
Mitchell wants residents to know that the extreme winter weather and heavy spring rains have created an urgent situation with some of the city's residential streets. The fund that is normally used for these kinds of repairs, drawn from the half-cent sales tax, just isn't deep enough to keep up with the damage done this year.
The half-cent sales tax, it just, you can do one of those on occasion, but as many as we've had to do in the last 3 or 4 years, what it does, it depletes that revenue source, and then smaller projects, get delayed. And so this will help us catch up on those smaller projects.
Typically, it may take 3 budget years to get accomplished the same street damage that we're going to have in this proposition. So we'll be able to do much greater improvements and get them done in a much more timely fashion.
Another important thing to note about this bond issue, since it has to do with local streets, repairs and improvements will happen much more quickly than on major street projects.
Yes, we've got an aggressive plan for these projects, and the fact that we'll have the design part of it completed by March 31st, and so then we will put the streets out to bid sometime in April, and then as soon as the bid process is over, we'll be able to start construction.
With these residential streets that we're going to be reconstructing, we shouldn't be acquiring any additional right-of-way. Everything should be constructed within the existing right-of-way. And so they'll see a end result, or the project being completed, hopefully by the end of next year.
In addition to much-needed residential street repairs, this bond issue will allow the city to begin making plans to widen Telephone Road between 19th and 34th Street.
This bond issue will consist of the design only under this bond issue of Telephone Road from 19th Street to 34th Street. Telephone Road has some transverse cracking in the asphalt sections of the pavement that are in pretty rough condition. Also, with the amount of development that's occurred, specifically the Costco project, the amount of traffic has increased quite a bit on Telephone Road in that mile section. And so what we're going to do is, one, because of the condition, reconstruct it with concrete, that whole mile. And we're also going to widen it from the 4-lane facility that exists now to a 5-lane facility where you'll have a center turn lane.
Also, plans can get underway for reconstruction work from the intersection of Eastern and South Broadway to 19th Street, and that's for both Eastern and South Broadway.
with the growth in that part of the city, I mean, the traffic problem on that street has just gotten worse. And so it's time to address that so we can safely move more traffic through that part of the city. And then eastern between 19th and Broadway, that street needs to be widened just because of the additional traffic on that. And then as part of that, the Broadway and eastern intersection, that's been talked about for years. The design will also be done with this project to help redesign that. And then 19th and Broadway is also an odd intersection. And so with the increase in traffic, and the safety issues, it's time to redesign those and then ultimately be able to reconstruct them to safely move additional amounts of traffic.
Mitchell says that because the city does a good job of managing voter-approved GO bonds, residents should see little to no change on the millage rate portion of their property taxes.
When we went back on the 2018 GO bond issue, our pledge then was we will not let the millage rate get above 16.5 mills. We will issue the bonds in increments to keep it at 16.5 or below. And we'll do the same thing with this. So we work closely with our financial advisors, and we have determined that we have the ability to do this.
The vote for Proposition 1 is set for Tuesday, November 9th. You'll find more information about the proposition at cityofmoore.com/election 2021. If you have questions about the GO bond, feel free to contact your city council representative or city officials at 405-793-5000.